This is It Was a Thing on TV.
Spoiler number one is Dr. Lee Franz.
It stinks.
What is going on? What is going on?
Episode 59, Submission 1044. Wilkins Coffee Ads.
I see you don't drink Wilkins instant coffee.
What about my future?
I hate to tell you, but you don't have a future.
Wilkins Coffee. You've probably never heard of it. But no, but it was the genesis of an empire that exists to this very day. That man's name, that visionary who brought puppets and coffee together, was a man by the name of Jim Henson. Anybody? Jim Henson? Anybody?
Heard of him.
You heard of him? Greg, you heard of Jim Henson?
You mean the Jim Henson of future installment, A Muppet Family Christmas?
The very same. So yeah, Jim Henson, coffee from Washington, D.C. How does this happen? Mike, how did this happen?
So where did this all begin? Jim Henson, back in 1955, through actually almost the end of 1961, so a good 6.5 years, there was a 5-minute TV show that aired twice daily on the NBC affiliate in Washington, D.C.,
WRC TV.
Yeah, WRC TV. And it's called Sam and Friends. And actually, that's a future installment, since that's pretty much the origin story of the Muppets. And actually, if you look at pictures of the Sam and Friends characters, you can see some characters that look vaguely like Muppets. I mean, one character clearly looks like Kermit the Frog. One sort of looks like a very deformed and very rudimentary Ernie. And then there's some other monsters who look sort of familiar, but again, might have been rudimentary compared to what they would have ended up being in the 70s. So Jim Henson had this existing relationship with Washington Media doing Sam and Friends. So what happened is in 1957, Jim Henson was approached by the Wilkins Coffee Company to produce some commercials. Now, there were a couple stipulations, though. The commercials had to fit in the station identification time of 10 seconds. So the commercials had to be really fast, really quick. You need to have closure in 8 seconds. And the reason you had 8 seconds instead of 10 to close it is because the last 2 seconds was a shot of the Wilkins coffee.
Yeah, and in some of the Wilkins Coffee commercials and others that were spun off from this series of commercial, with that still was also your station identification. Like for another regional brand, it would be WBZ TV4 Westinghouse Boston. So
from 1957 until 1961, Jim Henson, you wouldn't believe this, he actually made 179 different commercials for Wilkins Coffee. I mean, that takes a lot of creativity. That's a lot of mileage. And having to do complete commercials in 8 seconds, getting 179 unique ideas and compressing them into that period of time, that's pretty amazing, I think.
Yep.
And the ads themselves were so popular that there were regional companies in other areas that did similar commercials in the 1960s.
Yeah, I remember, let's see, there was Red Diamond Coffee, Community Coffee, Fago Strawberry Soda, La Fontaine Bread, Merida Bread, and Cramel Milk, just to name a few.
Now, the two main characters in this series of ads, there was a character named Wilkins, the coffee brand, and he looked like a very rudimentary, very basic Kermit the Frog type of character, and even sounded like Kermit the Frog. So obviously, the voice came directly from Jim Henson himself.
So he was like an early version of Kermit, kind
He
of.
was a very sadistic prototype of Kermit the Frog.
A very, very basic, very let's say beta version of Kermit the Frog. And then his foil in these ads was a grumpy character called Won'tkins. Get it? Wilkins, Won'tkins. Will, won't.
Oh.
And another, I don't know if that was a beta for another, but I know that a voice was also Jim Henson because it sounded a little bit like Rolf the dog. And, Jim, he did the voice of Rolf the dog up until his death, so.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like Ralph the dog.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. He definitely sounds like Rolf the dog there. And Won'tkins, he was, how would you describe him? He was like almost like a triangular pyramid shaped figure. He was sort of, skinny at the top and stout at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, well, since these are black and white, I think we'd have to assume what color he was. But it looks like...
there was a series of color commercials, and he was red.
Okay. Oh, I see those now. Looking at the black and white images, it looked like he was more of a blue character. And there's actually a reason I mentioned he was like a blue or purple. We'll get to that later, kids. And he was just the foil, the victim of Wilkins' constant torture, essentially. Because everything happened to Won'tkins. He got shot. He had a cannon shot at him. He got kicked out of a tree. He got electrocuted. He got hit with hammers.
Got run over by a steamroller.
Yeah,
hit by arrows.
Yeah,
he got shot at by a cannon inside of a camera.
Oh.
His house blew up.
Oh!
He fell out of an airplane.
Oh.
With a non-functioning parachute. If he was given a parachute at all.
We don't want to hear anything about how television is too violent nowadays. This actually was on TV 60 plus years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, the conclusion of almost every, I should say almost every, because there were a couple of times that Won'tkins did not get punished for not liking Wilkins coffee. But the conclusion was generally, he's going to get punishment. He's going to be hit by lightning. He's going to be shot at with a handgun. There's like many things. He gets dropped out of a hot air balloon. So he's so much stuff he went through. I feel so bad for Won'tkins.
Well, there was one where he wasn't tortured. There was one where he was behind a guillotine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This was horrible.
It's like this. He wasn't tortured physically, but he was tortured mentally.
But yeah, there's just, you could have had your head cut off, but you know what? Because we're going to lower the guillotine. Oh, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to have Wilkins.
I'll take mine with cream and sugar.
But I mean, there are also other times that I remember seeing that Won'tkins didn't end up physically hurt. There was one, and this one I thought was very creative, especially for late 50s technology. There was one commercial where Wilkins sort of literally lost his head. I'm guessing it was through green screen tech. I don't even know if they had green screen technology back that early in the 50s. But
they had the technology to splice and edit television. Just look at the Patty Duke show.
Well, Patty Duke show would have been a little bit later than even 61. That would have been like 63 or 64, I believe. But yeah, there's one ad where Wilkins' head came off like a ghost and started floating around and scared the absolute stink out of Won'tkins.
Oh,
and he ran off.
That. I think that was a Pepler's ghost effect, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll take his word for it. whatever Pop-Tarts effect is.
Okay, Boomer. Anyway.
Okay, Boomer? Really? I'm 5 years older, not even 5 years older than you. So, yeah, you're not that much younger than me, kid.
I'm like 9 years older. No, 9 years younger than you, Mike.
I do this out of love. You know this.
Yeah, at least, Greg, you didn't call me a boomer.
No.
Jeez.
By the way, we're still trying to come up with an idea for Okay Boomer, the sitcom.
I actually have a list of all the titles used in all the commercials.
Oh, no.
All the titles, okay.
Yeah. Attention, bad commercial, the ball bounces, baloney, bank robber, bar room, because it's true, blowtorch, cleaver, coffee machine, construction worker, drinking fountain, exploding brand X, exploding cigar, fire engine, flavor lock package, flying saucer, frontier bar, giant, golf club, good boy, good for smart Alex, Goofo the Great, gossips, got a dime, grenade, guy across the street, headaches of life, I got a bang out of Wilkins, ice skating, jailhouse, jingle in bed, love my Wilkins, magic wand, magician, Marshall Dilly, Martins and Coys, monster moving west, my dead body. My dead body? What the?
Huh?
It's like, I've done the research before this episode. I can only imagine what that's like. Observation lounge, on the wagon, $1 without Wilkins, positive, rockabye baby, ship christening, smoke it, Snickler the Swami, snowstorm, submarine, survey, taxi, thinking man's coffee, tired of commercials, tunnel of love, TV set, wake up, window, and you miss a lot.
Well, there's definitely more than that, because I actually also have a list of names of commercials. And these, I believe, are ones that are all on YouTube, because there are compilations out there. There's actually a very good compilation of about 15 minutes of these ads. So if you do the math, you'll probably get about, I'm guessing, 75 to 80 ads. And just some that you're missing that just come to mind immediately. There was one called Quiz Show. And remember, this is late 50s, so quiz shows were very big back then. And Wilkins was given the option, would you rather take this brand new car, or would you rather have a cup of Wilkins?
You win a new car or a case of Wilkins instant coffee.
I'll take the Wilkins coffee.
We'll never get rid of that car.
I'll take a cup of Wilkins. Man, we'll never get rid of this car.
Let me see some other titles that just ring a bell that you didn't mention.
Oh, here's one. $65. Can I borrow $65 for a cup of Wilkins? What do you need $65 for? What, want me to go to the cafe looking like a bum?
Yes, that was a good one. There was as I mentioned, a hot air balloon one where the balloon was starting to sink, and Wilkins said, "Oh, we need to get rid of some of the weight," and Wilkins said, "Well, why don't we get rid of some of the coffee?" And there was a trap door underneath, and Wilkins fell through it. Again, these are like really, just rapid fire, commercials. So, I mean, you've got 8 seconds to go from start to finish. So it's not, highly detailed. There, you got to get to the punchline really fast.
Yep.
But one thing I noticed in the names of the ads that you mentioned, a common theme is just torture devices or torture, because I heard grenade, and I forget what the other one you said was. It began with a C. I don't know if it was like crossbow or
cleaver, coffee machine.
Cleaver. Yes, cleaver. It's like, okay, you hear the word cleaver, you sort of know what's probably going to be happening. And that's the case with some of these commercial names that Chico didn't mention, like Airplane. Well, we mentioned earlier what happened to Airplane.
Yeah.
He got pushed out of the airplane without a parachute.
Yeah. Next town's 5 miles. Oh my god.
And then there's the Bad Guy Machine. And basically it was just some sort of goofy machine which determined if you're a good guy or a bad guy, and good guys drink Wilkins coffee, bad guys don't. And guess what? Wilkins doesn't drink Wilkins coffee. He gets pummeled with hammers. And then you have Bell, where, surprise, surprise, Wilkins' head ends up under a bell, and Wilkins hits the bell with a hammer, and his eyes come out all cross-eyed. And then, Blow Up. Well, I wonder what happens in Blow Up.
Yep.
Spoiler, he gets blown up.
What?
I know. But again, there's also some other ones that, he doesn't necessarily die in. One that I saw previously is called Cannibal Scene. And it has nothing to do with the cannibals getting ready to, well, they're in the cauldron, the pot, but they don't get eaten by the cannibals. The cannibals happen to fill the pot with Wilkins coffee.
Here comes the punchline.
And the punchline was that Wilkins is finally going to enjoy Wilkins coffee.
I never thought I'd get you into a cup of Wilkins with me, or something like that.
There's a commercial called Club. Boy, I wonder what happens there. He gets clubbed. Climbing Tree, and he actually gets kicked out of the tree. And I think that's one of my favorite episodes because you actually see Wilkins' leg kick back and kick him out of the tree. And you don't see any sort of like wires or anything connected to the puppets at that point. So they made it look very transparent even back in the day. Mm-hmm. There was nothing obviously holding these puppets in well, it's not a real tree, but in this tree.
But that punchline though. It's autumn and the nuts are beginning to fall.
Oh, that was genius. That was genius. It's autumn and the nuts are starting to fall. Beautiful.
And then there's one called Communist Store.
Oh, this one was funny. Yes.
This is basically a commercial that was built for its time. Where Wilkins asks Wilkins for a cup of Wilkins coffee. And Wilkins was like, That's capitalist coffee. Get me 2 cases around the back.
Yeah, so they did get a little political in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have another one called Hammer. Boy, I wonder what Hammer had to do with hitting him with in the head with a hammer. And we mentioned Guillotine earlier.
And here's an interesting turnabout. Wilkins on a deserted island, and he says, I wouldn't admit this if I wasn't on a deserted island, but I would love me a cup of Wilkins coffee. And then in comes Wilkins behind the tree saying, Did you call?
And then Knife Thrower. And Wilkins is throwing knives at Wilkins, and Wilkins says something to the extent of, Are you going to drink Wilkins coffee now? No. And then Wilkins puts on a blindfold. Okay, let's try this again. Throwing a knife at him blindfolded. I mean, there's just so many of these. I mean, I mentioned the number 179. I don't think all 179 are online, but again, you'll easily find there's a good almost 15-minute video on YouTube, and that must have minimum of 80 of these ads.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, just basically do the math here. 15 minutes is 900 seconds. Each spot is 10 seconds, so that's like 90 seconds.
And that's 90 ads.
That's like 90 ads, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, there is a little bit of a break between each of the ads. So, yeah, I mean, somewhere in probably the range of 70 to 80 ads. And they're all just so clever. And really, it doesn't get terribly repetitive unless you see what the scene is. Oh, there's a guillotine. Oh, there's a grenade. Oh, they're in a tree. You know what's going to happen. Unless there's a twist where Wilkins says, "Oh, I'll try this coffee," or he just gets out of the way or something. He's going to end up in some sort of pain.
Well, then there's one that he doesn't end up in some sort of pain. Wilkins is eating like a bunch of ground up Wilkins coffee, and he's like, "I love this Wilkins coffee." And in comes Wilkins says, "It's even better with boiling water."
And they also did ads for Wilkins decaf coffee.
I believe there was a fairy tale one for Wilkins decaf, where it basically ends up with Wilkins being knocked out cold. But then again, you knew that.
Yeah, these are definitely something you want to find online. This will keep you entertained, and definitely it's worthy of spreading on social media. Actually, I believe that's how we found out about it. Was someone posted it wasn't the whole 14 or 15-minute compilation. It was like a 5-minute compilation of these Wilkins commercials, and they were just so funny and clever. And again, you could tell it was Jim Henson, not just by looking at Wilkins, the Wilkins character, but also the voices. That exactly. I mean, you hear the voices, you clearly hear rudimentary Kermit, and you hear Rolf. I mean, that's obvious as the nose on your face.
Yeah, there's another bit of Jim Henson leaving his mark, in that we all know he has this thing about being quick-witted and somewhat dark, but not. It's like dark, but it's the whole acceptable darkness, I guess. That makes sense, right?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and stuff like the Dark Crystal.
No, I mean, when I say dark, I mean a dark sense of humor.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know what you...
But it's the acceptable dark sense of humor.
I thought you meant dark like in the material.
Well, I did mean like dark in the material, but it's like it's the acceptable. It's like the Tom and Jerry sort of dark and retrospect sort of sense of humor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, does anybody have anything else to add?
Let's see. We have the commercials. We have the fact that there were regional. We have the different brands that were used for the commercials,
which we mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did you know this? You had for one tin of Wilkins coffee and $1, you can get, and this was back in the day, you could get your very own Wilkins and Wonkins.
Oh, yeah. That'd be something to have around the house.
Yeah. And guess what that leads us to? It's another installment of eBay Price is Right.
Woohoo!
All right, guys. I want you to listen very carefully because there are specifics here regarding which item I'm looking at.
Okay.
At the present time, I see 2 auctions on eBay that are active that are offering both a Wilkins and a Wonkins. Would you call it a doll? A puppet?
Puppet. Let's call it a puppet.
Okay. Well, yeah, it says hand puppets. So, okay. So there is one of each, a Wilkins and a Wonkins. And I want you guys to come closest to the price of the higher of the the higher asking price of the two auctions.
Now, do both of the auctions have a Wilkins and a Wilkins?
Yes, they do.
Okay, just making sure.
They are both complete sets. And I'm looking for the higher priced auction or the higher priced asking price as of right now. And I'll start with Chico this time.
Okay, I'm going to guess $25.
Okay, $25, Greg. What do you bid on the matching hand puppets of Wilkins and Wilkins?
I'm going to go
the higher auction. I should remind you of that.
I'm going to go $40.
I hope you guys are sitting down.
Okay.
The higher priced auction, the asking price for the set of Wilkins and Wilkins hand puppets is $9,500.
Yeah, I won.
Now wait a second. Wait. You should hear the price of the lower auction.
Okay. Should we do another game for the lower auction?
Should we? We'll do that. And this time I'm going to have Greg go first since he won the first round. We're looking for the lower of the two auctions now.
Okay. I'm going to go $250.
Okay, $250. Okay, Chico.
I'm going to go $750.
Well, the actual retail price, well, I shouldn't say the actual retail price. The asking price of the lower of the two active auctions, Chico's not that far off. $899.99.
Wow. Shut the front door.
Yeah, imagine if you had $1 and a coffee can label from Wilkins back 60 years ago, and you held on to one of these. And the thing is, both of these are used. I mean, you can see some wear and tear. Not a whole lot of wear and tear, but yeah, one of them is going for $900, and the other is going for over 10 times that amount, $9,500.
Yikes.
But the colors are absolutely beautiful on both of these items. You see Wilkins is sort of a like a beige color or tan color, and Wilkins he's a solid blue. That's why I mentioned earlier, you mentioned red. The Wilkins here is actually like a blue, maybe slightly purplish, but more of a true blue with a green nose.
Wow, that is really something, isn't it?
That would be great for the museum, but
I'm
not paying for it.
No.
Too rich for my blood. Imagine if one of these would end up on Pawn Stars or Antiques Roadshow. That would just be wild.
Well, now again, remember, this is the asking price. This isn't what they're necessarily going to get. Because the thing is, as far as I know, both of those auctions have 0 bids. There's definitely no bids on the 9,500 one. And I thought I saw 2 bids on the 899 one this morning. But when I did the search, it said 0. Yeah, it says 0. I don't know if it was maybe a third one that maybe sold, but the one that I saw this morning had 2 days left on it. So it was going to close, at least as of the time of this recording, it was going to close on Sunday night. Another interesting story to close out this installment is back in 1992, Jim Henson's widow actually she actually physically attacked a marketing executive at a trade show. And why was the widow of Jim Henson?
Jim Henson.
Yeah, I know it's Jim Henson. I don't know why I said John Henson.
John Henson's on something else.
He's on Talk Soup.
Yeah.
And Wipeout.
Neither of which are future installments.
Oh, never. So what enraged the widow of Jim Henson? It actually had to do with Wilkins and Wilkins. What enraged Jim Henson's widow is that one thing that Jim Henson was not terribly excited about doing back in the day was he didn't like his trademarks being sold or highly profiting off of them. And what happened is at this trade convention, there were photos of Jim Henson and the Muppets, and there are different promotional materials describing Wilkins and Wonkins as the original Muppets created by Jim Henson. And she really strongly objected to seeing this, and she saw this as an attempt to cash on the Muppets' fame, but also Jim Henson's legacy. And she got a little violent with this marketing executive at this trade show. And there were lawsuits filed regarding these images, including Wilkins and Wonkins. This case was eventually settled in the Henson estate favor regarding these copyrights. So, and on top of that...
So imagine the estate as Wilkins blowing up the marketer as Wonkins.
Oh, that's clever. I like that. Maybe the judge throws the gavel at Wonkins. I like that. And also an interesting little side note to end this show on. According to a biography about Jim Henson didn't like coffee.
That's okay, because Wilkins also had tea.
Hey,
yeah, Wilkins did have tea too, yes.
Hey, me and Jim Henson have something in common. We both don't like coffee.
Well, that makes 3 of us.
Yeah, I pity you 3.
Chico's going to start throwing
let me bring out my cannon here. I'm going to bring out my cannon.
Yeah. Duck and cover, Greg.
You know who else liked coffee?
Detective Cooper.
Oh, yeah. Agent Dale Cooper. He really loved coffee.
Agent
And a damn fine cherry pie.
Damn right.
That's it?
I was gonna go somewhere else, but then Chico went Agent Cooper, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go on that.
I know what gets Greg. I know what turns Greg's brain on.
Well, Dale Cooper likes cherry pie, and I like cherry pie, so.
But he likes cherry pie and a damn fine cup of coffee.
Yeah.
It's like
But,
damn. It's like Agent Cooper, Detective Hopper, and me. Coffee mornings are for coffee and contemplation, my friends.
And whether you're drinking coffee in a 1950s ad with rudimentary Muppets, or you're drinking coffee with cherry pie on Twin Peaks, either way, it's still a thing on TV.
Yep.
Indeed.
Oh, I did the closure for once. That was fun.
Yeah. Well, you can grab a cup of coffee and head over to itwasathingontv.com, where you can find all of our past episodes, more about the show, more about us, and of course all of our social feeds. And if you like this show, then don't forget to rate, review, comment, subscribe, and share, because sharing is caring.
And by the way, before we go, this is the end of our current drop at Place to Be Nation. So I want to give a thanks to Todd Weber at Place to Be Nation, who has edited all 59 of our shows together. And this is his final series of episodes that he is doing, editing it for Place to Be Nation. So I want to give Todd a big round of applause.
Yay, they're caught up.
Yes, they're finally caught up. So now I'm gonna be handling the post-production work on the episodes. So.
Oh boy.
So that'll be fun. But hey, after next week, it's only 2 episodes on the drop. So.
And those would be the episodes that are available where all fine podcasts can be streamed.
Yeah,
yes.
that'd be the current episodes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, how am I going to segue into this the episode later this week? Until next time.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that because that should give a hint as to what show we're going to cover. And as we had been touting for the last week or so, the episode that's coming up later this week is highly experimental.
Yeah.
And we'll give the backstory as to how we came up with this idea when we do that episode. You're either going to like it or you're going to not like it. There's not going to be any sort of middle area. This is either going to be one that you're going to be like, oh, this is hilarious, or, this might be the worst thing they've done. But we'll just come out and say that. We'll say, you know what? It may not be our best effort. It may be our worst effort. We'll let you but it's an effort. We'll let you decide. Not every episode of every show is 100% perfect.
No.
There are things called bottle episodes on television.
So we'll leave it to you, the listener, once we get to that episode. But for now, again, thank you for joining us for this episode. And thank you for Greg and Chico, our co-winners of eBay Prices Right this week. You're not getting those dolls because I may have stimulus money, but I don't have that type of stimulus money to buy you guys.
I don't make Jimmy Kimmel money.
Yeah, you don't make Blake Snell money. Ooh, too timely.
Oh. Okay, we'll see you later this week with another thing on TV.
Wow! I love these Wilkins coffee commercials, don't you?
I'm tired of them. Just kidding, Mr. Wilkins.